She opened her eyes to darkness, rope burns on her wrists, and the distinct feeling that she was about to be murdered by the world's most apologetic vampire. "I'm really, really sorry about this," he whispered from somewhere in the shadows. "Do you need water? Are you allergic to anything? I have snacks. Well, I have blood bags, but I could order pizza." Yeah, this was how Stephanie Reed was going to die. Kidnapped by a monster who genuinely seemed more terrified than she was. But to understand how we got here, how a 26-year-old barista ended up zip-tied to a chair in what looked like someone's very clean basement, being held hostage by a vampire with the energy of an anxious golden retriever, we need to go back. Back to 72 hours ago. Back to the moment Dorian Hunt received the worst assignment of his immortal life. Dorian Hunt had been a vampire for exactly 4 years, 3 months, and 12 days. He hated every single second of it. Not because of the bloodlust, or the eternal darkness, or even the fact that he could never eat garlic bread again, though that genuinely sucked. No, Dorian hated being a vampire because it came with expectations. Specifically, the expectations of his sire, Lord Marcus Thorne, a 600-year-old vampire who thought subtle meant only killing 3 people per dinner party. "You wanted to see me, my lord?" Dorian stood in Marcus's study, wringing his hands like a kid called to the principal's office. Marcus didn't look up from his ancient desk, where he was literally writing with a quill. A quill. In 2025. "Dorian, I have a task for you." Dorian's stomach dropped. Last time Marcos gave him a task, he'd had to infiltrate a blood bank, and he'd spent 20 minutes apologizing to the security guard before accidentally hypnotizing him into thinking he was a chicken. The guard still clucked at him during their monthly coven meetings. "I need you to acquire someone for me." "Acquire?" Dorian's voice cracked. "Like, purchase?" "Kidnap." "Oh." Pause. "Oh. Oh, no. No, no, no. Her name is Stephanie Reed." Marco slid a photo across the desk. "She works at Sacred Grounds Coffee on 5th Street. She has something I need." Dorian stared at the photo. Pretty girl, early 20s, wearing a coffee-stained apron and flipping off the camera with both hands while laughing. Her smile was the kind that made you want to smile back. "What does she have?" "That's none of your concern. Bring her to the safe house. Keep her there. Don't let her escape. And for the love of darkness, Dorian, try not to apologize to her." Stephanie Reed was having the worst day of her life, and it wasn't even noon yet. First, some guy ordered a medium-iced coffee with oat milk, 2 pumps vanilla, but make it taste like fall, you know? She didn't know. Fall tasted like pumpkin spice, which she'd already offered him, but apparently that wasn't authentic fall vibes. Then her ex texted, asking if they could talk about closure, which was code for, "I'm dating someone new and need to make sure you're not going to show up at my wedding someday." And then, the awkward regular walked in. Dorian Hunt came in every single day at 2 p.m., ordered a black coffee he never drank, sat in the corner booth for exactly 30 minutes, stared at her like he was working up the courage to speak, and then left. Every single day. Stephanie had nicknamed him Coffee Stalker in her head, though she had to admit he was cute in that disaster human way. Messy dark hair, pale skin, nervous energy, eyes that looked perpetually apologetic. Like if a Victorian ghost learned what hoodies were. Today, though, something was different. Coffee Stalker looked even more anxious than usual, and he kept glancing at the door like he was planning an escape route. "The usual?" Stephanie asked, forcing customer service cheerfulness. "Actually, His voice was soft, British accent barely there. "Actually, I need to talk to you." Stephanie's internal alarms started screaming. This was it. This was the moment every woman fears. Coffee Stalker was about to confess his obsessive love or reveal a collection of her hair or something equally horrifying. "Look, if this is about... I'm so sorry." He said it so fast, it sounded like one word. "I'm so sorry. This is literally the worst thing I've ever had to do, and I've done some pretty terrible things. Like I once accidentally on purpose killed a man in 1847. Long story. But this feels worse somehow. And I'm really sorry." Stephanie blinked. "Are you breaking up with me? Because we're not dating." "What? No, I'm..." He looked around desperately. The coffee shop was empty, except for a college kid with headphones. Dorian leaned in close, and Stephanie caught the strangest scent. Old books, and something metallic and expensive cologne fighting for dominance. "I'm kidnapping you," he whispered. "Again, I'm really sorry." Stephanie laughed, full-on cackled. "Okay, Coffee Stalker, sure, you're kidnapping me. Should I be scared now, or..." "Please don't call me Coffee Stalker. I already feel terrible about this. Wait, you knew I was..." He shook his head. "Yes, you should be scared. I'm a vampire, a real one. And I have orders to take you to a secure location and hold you until my sire gets what he needs." Stephanie stared at him. He stared back with those big, guilty puppy eyes. "Buddy," she said slowly, "I've had a really weird day. So if this is some kind of flash mob thing or a YouTube prank, I'm gonna need you to wrap it up, because I've got a 4-hour shift left and..." Dorian's eyes went solid black. His fangs extended with a soft click. The lights in the coffee shop flickered, and suddenly Stephanie couldn't move. Her body locked up like someone had pressed pause on her entire nervous system. "Oh my God," she breathed. "You're actually..." "I'm so sorry." Dorian looked more horrified than she felt. "I didn't want to do the eye thing, but you weren't taking me seriously, and Marcos said I had to be commanding, but I hate being commanding. It makes me feel like my dad, and I have a lot of unresolved issues with... Okay, we're doing this now. Right now. I'm so sorry." He scooped her up, surprisingly strong for someone who looked like a stiff breeze could take him out, and carried her toward the back exit. The college kid never looked up from his laptop. The safe house was a fully furnished Airbnb in the suburbs. Dorian had even left the welcome basket. "There's organic coffee pods," he said nervously, watching Stephanie test the zip ties around her wrists. "And I made sure the bathroom had the good toilet paper, the quilted kind, because I read that matters to humans." "You kidnapped me," Stephanie interrupted. "And you're worried about toilet paper quality?" "I'm trying to be considerate." "You kidnapped me!" "I know!" Dorian collapsed into a chair across from her, head in his hands. "Trust me, I know. This is a nightmare. You're probably terrified. You're definitely traumatized. And I'm the bad guy, which I hate, because I've spent 4 years trying not to be the bad guy. And now here we are, and you're zip-tied to a chair, and I can hear your heartbeat racing. And, oh God, are you going to have a panic attack? Should I get a paper bag? Do people still breathe into paper bags, or was that just a TV thing?" Stephanie stared at him. Actually stared. This man, this vampire, had just abducted her, brought her to a suburban rental property, and was now spiraling about paper bag protocols. "What?" she said slowly. "The actual hell is happening right now. I'm a terrible vampire, Dorian admitted. Like, genuinely the worst. I cry during Disney movies. I can't hypnotize people without apologizing. I once tried to be intimidating at a coven meeting, and everyone thought I was doing a bit. This is my first real assignment in 2 years, because Marcos doesn't trust me with anything important. And now I've kidnapped you, and you're being so brave about it. And I just... He looked up at her, eyes back to normal, filled with genuine distress. I really, really am sorry. Against every survival instinct she possessed, Stephanie felt the tiniest flicker of sympathy? So let me go, she said. I can't. Why not? Because Marcos will kill me. Actually kill me. He'll stake me in front of the entire coven and use it as a teaching moment about failure. That's your problem, not mine. I know. Dorian stood up, pacing. You're right. You're absolutely right. This is insane. You're a person, a whole person with a life and probably plants you need to water and people who love you. Do you have plants? Are they going to die? Oh God, are you supposed to feed someone's cat? Dorian! She surprised herself by using his name. What does your sire want with me? He froze. I don't actually know. He just said you have something he needs. I work at a coffee shop. I have student loans and a Netflix subscription. What could I possibly... Stephanie stopped. Her eyes went wide. Oh no. What? What oh no? My grandmother. Stephanie's voice dropped. She died 3 months ago. She left me this weird antique necklace in her will. I've been wearing it every day because it makes me feel close to her, but... She looked down at her chest, where a tarnished silver pendant hung. My grandmother used to tell me stories about our family, about how we were protectors. I thought she meant like cops or firefighters. But what if... Dorian leaned in, squinting at the necklace. His face went absolutely pale. Paler than usual, which was saying something. That's a blackthorn seal. A what now? A blackthorn seal. It's... Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. He started pacing faster. Stephanie, that necklace is one of 7 seals that keep the old ones locked away. The old ones. The vampires so ancient and powerful that even vampires are terrified of them. They make Marcos look like a sparkly teenager from those terrible movies. If he gets all 7 seals, the world ends? Worse. The old ones wake up, and the world becomes their personal buffet. They stared at each other. So, Stephanie said carefully, your boss sent you to kidnap me so he could steal my dead grandmother's necklace and potentially end the world? Essentially, yes. And you just went along with this? Dorian looked like he might cry. He didn't tell me the world-ending part. He just said, acquired the girl with the necklace. I thought maybe you'd stolen something from him, or you were a vampire hunter, or... I don't know. I didn't ask questions because I was trying to be a good underling for once in my undead life. Stephanie tested the zip ties again. Still tight. Okay. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to untie me. I can't. You're going to untie me, she continued, voice firm. And we're going to figure out how to stop your psychotic boss from ending the world. Because that necklace, it's not coming off my neck. My grandmother died protecting it, and I'm not about to hand it over to some megalomaniac vampire just because his anxious minion is having a moral crisis. Dorian stood there, mouth opening and closing like a confused fish. Unless, Stephanie added, you actually want the world to end? In which case, I guess we have nothing to talk about, and you can explain to your therapist, because you definitely have a therapist, why you chose your abusive boss over basic human decency. Dorian swallowed hard. I don't want the world to end. Great! So untie me. But Marcos is going to end the world, Dorian. The world. All the coffee shops, all the movies, all the dogs. Do you like dogs? I love dogs, he whispered miserably. Then untie me before all the dogs die. 5 minutes later, Stephanie was free, rubbing her wrists and staring at the vampire who looked like he might vomit despite not having a functioning digestive system. So, she said, how long do we have? Until Marcos shows up personally? Dorian checked his phone. Maybe 48 hours? He's in Prague closing a deal for seal number 4. Once he realizes I haven't delivered you, he'll come himself. And kill us both. Well, kill you. Re-kill me. Stephanie walked to the kitchen, found the organic coffee pods, and started making herself a cup. If she was going to die in 2 days, she was doing it caffeinated. Question, she said, watching the coffee brew. If you're such a terrible vampire, why are you even in this coven? Dorian slumped against the counter. I didn't choose this. 4 years ago, I was a librarian. I had a cat named Mr. Darcy. I was writing a novel about Victorian ghost hunters. Terrible novel, but it made me happy. Then, one night, I was working late, cataloging a new collection of occult books, and Marcos showed up. Said I had potential. Said I was wasting my life on mortal mediocrity. I said no. He turned me anyway. That's... Stephanie paused. That's horrible. Yeah. Dorian's voice was soft. I still dream about sunlight sometimes. About walking Mr. Darcy in the park. About finishing that terrible novel. He looked at her. Really looked at her. You remind me of someone I used to know. Before. She worked at a bookstore. Same smile. Same way of telling people off while somehow making them feel good about it. Stephanie felt something shift in her chest. Inconvenient, considering the circumstances. What happened to her? She got married, had kids, lived a whole beautiful human life, while I stayed frozen at 28 forever. He smiled, sad and small. I'm happy for her. Genuinely. But some nights, I wonder what would have happened if I'd asked her out before Marcos turned me. The coffee machine beeped. Stephanie poured herself a cup, then surprised herself by pouring a second and sliding it toward Dorian. You said you can't drink it. Can't enjoy it, he corrected, picking up the mug. But I can drink it. Tastes like hot nothing, but... He took a sip, closing his eyes. Sometimes the ritual is enough. They stood there in comfortable silence for exactly 12 seconds before Stephanie's phone rang. Both of them jumped. Don't answer it, Dorian said immediately. It's my roommate. If I don't answer, she'll call the cops. Answer it, but be normal. If Marcos finds out you're not properly secured. Stephanie answered, putting on her brightest voice. Hey, Emma! Where are you? Emma's voice was pure panic. You never came home last night. I've been calling for hours. Are you okay? Were you kidnapped? Oh my God, you were kidnapped. I'm fine. Stephanie shot Dorian a look. He was making frantic, keep lying gestures. I just stayed at a friend's place. What friend? You don't have friends. Rude, but fair. A new friend. We're just hanging out. Very normal hanging out. Absolutely nothing weird happening. Dorian dropped his head into his hands. Stephanie Reed, you're the worst liar I've ever met. If someone's making you say this, say the word pineapple. No pineapples here, just regular friend activities. Gotta go. Love you. Bye. She hung up. Dorian looked up. That was the worst lie I've ever heard, and I once told Marcos I couldn't attend his blood ritual because I had jury duty. At least I tried. What do you want me to say? Sorry, Emma, been kidnapped by an apologetic vampire. Send help, but also maybe don't because we're trying to save the world? That would have been more convincing, honestly. Despite everything, the kidnapping, the world-ending seals, the absolute insanity of the situation, Stephanie laughed. Actually laughed. And Dorian smiled, real and genuine. And for just a moment, they weren't captor and captive. They were just two people sharing coffee in a suburban kitchen, pretending the world wasn't about to end. Then Dorian's phone buzzed. His face went white. What? Stephanie demanded. What is it? Marcos. His voice shook. He's asking for a photo. Proof of capture. With today's newspaper. They stared at each other. Okay, Stephanie said slowly. So we take a fake photo. You tie me up again. I look scared, you look evil. I can't look evil. You're a literal vampire, I know, but my face doesn't do evil. Last time I tried to look intimidating, someone asked if I needed a hug. Stephanie grabbed his phone. Fine, new plan. We take a photo where I look properly kidnapped, you look properly threatening, and we buy ourselves another day to figure out how to stop your boss from ending the world. Sound good? I hate this plan. You hate all plans. That's actually fair, yes. The photo shoot was a disaster. Dorian couldn't figure out how to look menacing without looking constipated, and Stephanie couldn't stop laughing every time he tried his threatening voice, which sounded like a librarian asking for overdue books very, very firmly. Say something scary, Stephanie demanded, hands behind her back, trying to look distressed. Like what? I don't know. Vampire stuff. Dorian cleared his throat. I'm going to drain you? Stephanie lost it. Full body laughter. You sound like a plumber. I'm going to drain you, ma'am. That'll be $50. This is impossible. Dorian threw up his hands. I can't do menacing. It's not in my skill set. My skill set includes alphabetizing, making tea, and crying during the sad parts of children's movies. Which children's movies? All of them. Even the happy ones. Finding Nemo destroyed me. Don't even talk to me about Coco. Stephanie wiped tears from her eyes. Okay. New approach. Just look serious. Like you're explaining something important. Your resting face is kind of intense anyway. My resting face is intense? You always look like you're solving a murder mystery in your head. I mean, I usually am wondering if I left the stove on. Dorian, you don't eat. You don't use stoves. Old habits die hard. They finally got a photo that looked halfway convincing. Stephanie sitting on the floor, hands behind her back, looking appropriately distressed. Dorian standing behind her, hand on her shoulder, face carefully neutral, in a way that could almost pass for threatening if you squinted. He sent it to Marcos with the message, "Secured, awaiting further instructions." The response came immediately. Good. I'll collect her in 36 hours. Don't let her escape. And Dorian, don't disappoint me again. Stephanie watched Dorian's face as he read the message. Watched the way his jaw tightened, the way his eyes flickered black for just a second before returning to their normal dark brown. He's coming, Dorian said quietly. In a day and a half, he's coming. And if I don't hand you over, he'll kill you. Probably. And if you do hand me over, he gets the seal and the world ends. Definitely. Stephanie sat down on the couch. So, we're both screwed. Comprehensively. They sat in silence for a long moment. Then Stephanie said, "Tell me about your book, the Victorian ghost hunter one." Dorian blinked. "What?" "Your terrible novel. Tell me about it. If we're going to die in 36 hours, I want to know." And so he told her. About Adelaide Hart, paranormal investigator. About her partner, a reformed ghost who couldn't remember how he died. About the mystery of the Whitechapel Wraith and the romance that bloomed between the living and the dead. "It sounds amazing," Stephanie said when he finished. "Not terrible at all." "You're just being nice because I kidnapped you." "I'm being nice because it actually sounds good, you self-deprecating disaster." She smiled. "I'd read it." "Yeah?" "Yeah. If we survive this, you have to finish it. Deal?" Dorian looked at her, really looked at her, and felt something he hadn't felt in 4 years. Hope. Tiny and terrifying, but there. Deal. They spent the next 12 hours planning. Dorian explained everything he knew about Marcos, the Coven, the other SEALs. Stephanie mapped it out on the Airbnb's whiteboard, creating what she called a apocalypse prevention strategy. "So, Marcos has 3 SEALs already," she said, drawing quick diagrams. "He needs 4 more, including mine. Do we know where the others are?" 2 are held by other covens. 1 is supposedly in the Vatican. The last one, Dorian hesitated. No one knows. It's been lost for centuries. "But if we can stop him from getting mine, he'll just kill you and take it, or kill me and take it, or kill both of us and take it." Dorian slumped. "Stephanie, he's 600 years old. He's powerful beyond anything you can imagine. I'm barely 4 years old in vampire terms. I'm like a toddler trying to fight a tank." "Then we don't fight him. We outsmart him." "How?" Stephanie grinned. "Remember how you said you're terrible at being a vampire?" "Painfully aware, yes." "What if that's exactly what we need?" She explained her plan. It was ridiculous. Insane. Probably going to get them both killed. Dorian loved it. "It'll never work," he said, smiling despite himself. "It'll absolutely work. We're going to die." "Probably. But we'll die trying. And isn't that better than dying while giving up?" Dorian realized he'd never met anyone like Stephanie Reed. She'd been kidnapped by a vampire, learned the world was ending, and responded by making battle plans on a whiteboard while drinking her 3rd cup of coffee. She was brave and stubborn, and making jokes about death while facing actual death. And somewhere in the last 24 hours, Dorian had fallen completely, catastrophically in love with her. Which was inconvenient, considering they'd probably both be dead by tomorrow. "Stephanie," he said softly, "if this doesn't work, it'll work. But if it doesn't, Dorian," she turned to face him, "I need you to stop with the pre-traumatic stress disorder for 5 seconds and listen. We're going to survive this. We're going to stop your psycho boss. I'm going to finish my shift on Tuesday, and you're going to finish your book, and we're going to figure out what the hell happens next. Okay? He wanted to believe her. God, he wanted to believe her. Okay, he whispered. She reached out and took his hand. His skin was cold, always cold, but she didn't let go. Besides, she added, I kind of need you alive. You make excellent coffee, even if you can't taste it. That's the only reason? Well, you're also cute when you're spiraling. Very entertaining. Dorian laughed despite everything. I'm so glad my anxiety is amusing. Oh, it's hilarious. You're like a Victorian ghost learned about mental health terminology and became obsessed. She squeezed his hand. But seriously? You're brave, Dorian. You went against your sire to do the right thing. You chose a stranger's life over your own. That's not weak. That's heroic. I'm not, you are. Trust me. I know heroes when I see them. She smiled. My grandmother used to say that the bravest people aren't the ones who aren't scared. They're the ones who are absolutely terrified but do the right thing anyway. That's you. Dorian felt something crack open in his chest. 4 years of self-hatred, of believing he was a mistake, a failure, a disappointment. And here was this woman he'd kidnapped, telling him he was brave. Stephanie, His phone rang. Marcos. They looked at each other. Showtime, Stephanie whispered. Dorian answered. My lord? I'm in town. Marcos's voice was silk over steel. I'll be there in 30 minutes. Have the girl ready. The line went dead. 30 minutes, Dorian said. Then let's make them count. They worked fast. Stephanie hid the real necklace, replacing it with a fake Dorian crafted using his completely useless hobby of jewelry making. They set up the house, arranged the scene, and rehearsed their parts until every word felt natural. Are you sure about this? Dorian asked for the 100th time. Absolutely not, but it's our only shot. He's going to kill us. Only if we give him the chance. A car pulled up outside. Expensive. Black. The kind of car that said, I'm ancient and powerful, and I probably own several senators. Stephanie took a breath. Remember the plan. Remember the plan, Dorian echoed. And Dorian? She looked at him, eyes fierce. When this is over, you're taking me on a proper date. Somewhere without zip ties. He blinked. A date? Yes, a date. You know, the thing people do when they like each other. We'll go to dinner, you'll order food you can't eat, I'll watch you pretend to enjoy it, it'll be adorable. Deal? Deal, he managed, heart, if it still beat, soaring. The door opened without knocking. Lord Marcos Thorne entered like he owned the place. He probably did. He probably owned half the city. Tall, elegant, dark-haired, with eyes like a frozen lake and a smile that promised beautiful death. Everything Dorian wasn't. Everything Dorian would never be. Dorian! Marcos's voice filled the room. I'm impressed. You actually succeeded. My lord. Dorian bowed his head, playing the obedient underling perfectly. The girl is secured. Stephanie sat on the couch, fake-tied, fake necklace visible, very real glare on her face. Great, evil vampire number 2, just what I needed. Marcos laughed. Spirit, I appreciate that. He moved toward her with predatory grace. Give me the necklace, girl, and I'll make your death quick. Hard pass on both options. It wasn't a request. Dorian stepped forward. My lord, perhaps we could— Silence! Marcos didn't even look at him. I need to concentrate on— That's when Stephanie threw the coffee, scalding hot, directly in Marcos's face. He screamed, actually screamed, and Stephanie ripped off the fake restraints, jumping back as Dorian moved. Not toward Marcos, but toward the window, where he'd hidden the real weapon. A wooden stake carved from the Airbnb's decorative oak chair. Now! Stephanie shouted. Dorian threw the stake. His aim was terrible. He'd said his aim was terrible. But somehow, through sheer luck or divine intervention or the universe finally cutting him a break, the stake flew true. It caught Marcos in the shoulder, not the heart, not even close to the heart. But it distracted him long enough for Stephanie to grab the second stake and drive it toward his chest. Marcos caught her wrist. Clever girl, but not clever enough. I don't need to be clever, Stephanie gasped, struggling against his grip. I just need to be stubborn. And guess what? I'm incredibly stubborn. Ask my roommate. Ask my ex. Ask literally anyone who's ever met me. Dorian tackled Marcos from behind. It was graceless, desperate, and absolutely not how vampires fought. But it worked. They crashed to the floor in a tangle of limbs and fangs and increasingly creative cursing. Dorian! Stephanie scrambled for the third stake, the one they'd hidden under the couch. Here! He caught it one-handed, looked down at his sire, the vampire who'd stolen his life, his future, his son. I'm sorry, Dorian said, and meant it. Even now, he meant it. Then he drove the stake home. Marcos's eyes went wide, then empty, then nothing. He crumbled to dust, expensive suit collapsing in on itself, until all that remained was ash and the faint smell of old books and older blood. Dorian stared at the pile of dust that used to be his sire. Oh God, he whispered. Oh God, I killed him. I actually killed him. Dorian! Stephanie grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. Breathe. Or whatever you do instead of breathing. You did it. We did it. We're alive. Well, I'm alive. You're functionally mobile? I killed him. You saved us. You saved the world. Do you understand? That seal is safe. The old ones stay asleep. Dogs continue existing. You're a hero. I'm a murderer. You're a hero who murdered. It's very different. Morally gray at worst. Dorian laughed, or sobbed. Maybe both. He collapsed onto the couch, head in his hands, and Stephanie sat beside him, her hand on his back, solid and warm and alive. What happens now? He asked quietly. Now? Now we call the vampire cleanup crew. There is a vampire cleanup crew, right? Yeah, the council has people. Great, we call them. We explain that Marcus went rogue and tried to end the world. We show them the seal. You become a hero vampire who saved humanity. Maybe they give you a medal? Do vampires have medals? I don't want a medal. What do you want? Dorian looked at her, at this woman he'd kidnapped who'd somehow become the best thing in his undead life. That date. I want that date. Stephanie smiled. Me too. They sat there in the wreckage of the living room, covered in vampire dust, probably traumatized, definitely in need of therapy. Absolutely alive. "So," Stephanie said after a moment, "your place or mine?" "Mine has better coffee." "You can't taste coffee." "No, but you can. And I like watching you enjoy it." That's the most vampire thing you've ever said, and it's adorable. "I aim to please." Your aim is terrible. You literally said your aim was terrible. And yet the steak landed. Dumb luck. I prefer to think of it as destiny. Stephanie laughed, bright and genuine. You're such a dork. You're into it. Unfortunately, yes. Hit subscribe for more stories like this. Drop a comment with your favorite moment. See you next time.